Hey guys, welcome to the Live Big, Find Your Magic podcast. I have my friend Marie Fiebach here, and I have not seen her or talked to her in quite a while now. We had stayed connected, and then we got busy, and here we are. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. We got to catch up a little bit beforehand. So welcome to the Live Big, Find Your Magic podcast.
Oh my goodness, Anna, I am so excited to be here with you and to reconnect a little bit. It has been way too long, and it is just a joy to be here today.
Thanks so much. Yes, I'm so excited to have you. Okay, so if you haven't listened to the podcast, typically we do a few ice-breaking questions before we get to dig in. And then I'm going to share, because I don't necessarily really need to share your story now, because you're going to share your story and we're going to get to know you and who you are and a little bit about you and how you find magic in your life and how you live big. And I know I love your story. That's why you're here. So I'm going to ask you a few questions and then we're going to dig in. Okay.
It sounds great.
All right. Okay. So here's the question. Here's the first question of the day. What brings you joy?
Joy is so important. And I think what is bringing me joy right now is connection with my family. It's binging on a TV show with my teenage girls, or it's laying in bed and watching a movie with my husband. When I have time, it's even helping my college student with their algebra. But joy comes from connection with my family.
Connection with your family. I love that. That has not been said. So thank you for sharing that. Okay. Now, there's no wrong or right answer on this one. Do you believe that everyone has a purpose? No wrong or right answer.
Emphatically, yes. If we didn't, then why would we be here? We are all so unique and so gifted, and everybody, I don't care who you are, you have a purpose and there is meaning in your being here.
Fantastic. Okay. I love it. All right. And then you actually already touched on the third question in your first answer. And that is, what's your favorite thing about human connection? And you already used the word connection when it comes to your family. So what would you say is your favorite thing about human connection in general? When we talk about, let's just say outside of your family.
I think it's about the joy of learning about people's journey. And that's what I love so much about this new podcast that you're doing, Anna, is that everybody has a journey, everybody has a story, and there is so much joy in learning about other people's stories, because everyone has something to share and something to give, which kind of goes to the middle question. I think they all work together.
Right. Yes. Awesome. Woo, you passed the test. Fantastic. Okay. So now what I would love to do, and I forgot to even say how we met. Again, that's one of my favorite things of how we've met, in the world of social media or even in person. So we met in my Facebook group and in my course. But here's the coolest thing is that, again, the closer I get to people in this business group, the closer I get to people as friends. And so I've watched Marie every day. I've watched her show up in her life, and I've just been this cheerleader on the side. And I just love what she has so many layers in her life. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I asked her to be on this podcast, because I wanted her to share her layers with you and really inspire people to do the things that you may not think that you are qualified to do, right? Wouldn't that be a good answer?
Oh, for sure.
Right. Okay. So that's a little bit about how we met. And that was, probably 4 years ago ish. Yeah. And here we are reconnecting. And I want you to share a little bit about your journey and how you've kind of navigated through finding joy and doing things that are probably unconventional to most, and share a little bit of inspiration to the ladies out there that, you know, may think that they just don't have something in their bucket to share, or the purpose, right? I think that you're a perfect example of someone that's utilized your journey in your life. So I would love for you to kind of go back as far as you want to go back and share a little bit about your journey.
Well, I am a married mother of 4 teenagers living in Wichita, Kansas, which, I'm a Midwesterner through and through. I've lived here most of my life. And that's a big piece of my journey is that I'm from Kansas. And that means that sometimes you think that you don't have the opportunities that people have who live on the coast, because sometimes the Midwest gets a bad rap. But I have to say that the pace of life and the quality of life that I have is something that brings me a lot of joy. I have a group of friends that we have been getting together at 6:30 in the morning for coffee every Wednesday for almost 10 years now. And this group of friends, we're very diverse. We have different political beliefs. We have different religious backgrounds, but we have been enjoying each other. And one thing that they always laugh at me is they'll say something like, "Oh, I worked doing that a while ago," or "I've done a little of that." There's not very many things I haven't tried. I have done a lot of different things in my life, and that brings me a lot of joy too. I started off working for a nonprofit, and I recruited adult volunteers. And then when I was married, I switched to working as a receptionist for an optometrist, which was really fun. And that was a blast. And then I've been the stay-at-home mom, and I've been the part-time working mom, and I'm exploring the idea of being a full-time working mom. In addition to that, I've been a business owner, still am a business owner. And so I have done a lot of things. I have sold cemetery plots for a nonprofit cemetery, which is a crazy thing to be making cold calls to people, asking them if they want to think about dying in 20 years and buy a cemetery plot,
Crazy.
But I loved it. And I was really good at it. And so I've done that. My current business is Feed Your Family Tonight, where I help busy families plan and execute weeknight dinner. And for me, that is about the mission of building stronger families. The statistics are clear that children who have regular meals with their family have better grades, they have less teen pregnancy, they have less anxiety, depression, drug use, all of those things. And so I have been spending years teaching busy families how to get weeknight dinner on the table. And part of that goes to my big, hairy, scary dream, Anna, which is to have a TV show. And I really believe in the proximity principle. I think that if you're going to do something, you need to be in the place where people are doing it. And so I started doing cooking segments on my local news. And for 3 years, every week, I have been doing a 7-minute cooking show with my local news anchors on my ABC affiliate. And it's so fun. And something that you kind of hinted on, and I want to say, if anyone ever has that dream, local news is way easier to get on than you would ever think. Even in larger markets, there are easy ways to do it. You just kind of have to know the formula. And I have actually done media coaching. And so my TV experience turned into the opportunity to do media coaching. I have coached people on Kelly Clarkson, and I have coached people that were Emmy nominees. So, I mean, high profile people. And it's funny how like one experience leads to another experience, and the opportunities just grow and grow and grow. And I just love it. It's just so much fun.
I love every layer of your story. I love every layer of your story. And every time I see you have a video or picture of you on set at your local news, cooking with with the local anchors, I just think it's like the coolest thing ever. Because you would think, I love the fact that you said the proximity principle, and that it's so true. We tend to think that things are out of our reach, right? But clearly you found your foot in the door. And I mean, you don't live in LA,
Yep.
it's not this like glamorous thing. You found your foot in the door, and now you're a regular on your local on your local news or your local.
Yeah.
So you chose to put yourself in the space, or at least, tried to put yourself in the space. Clearly it worked, so that you are leading up to your big, hairy, scary goal. And I think that that's so amazing that you have that goal. How long have you had that goal? Was that goal set before you started those cooking segments, or once you got kind of the taste of it?
I mean, if I'm really honest with myself, the dream has been there for a long time. I mean, I used to watch The Galloping Gourmet on PBS, or no, it wasn't, he was The Frugal Gourmet on PBS. And I have been fascinated with food television before Food Network ever existed.
Oh,
I did food cooking competitions when I was in middle school and, won ribbons at our state fair and that type of thing. So food has always been important to me. And the dream of food TV has always been twirling in the back of my head. Back when they had the show, The Next Food Network Star,
I watched
I
that
always,
show.
oh yeah, it's so fun. I always said, I want to do that. And it's funny because they always would say, what's your point of view? That was the big thing that they would say, is what makes you unique? And I had always said for years, I'd say my point of view is weeknight family dinners, because on the Food Network, you have the people that are doing the fancy girl food. You have the people that are doing the fancy chef food, but no one's telling you how to get dinner on the table in 30 minutes when you walk in the door from work at 6 o'clock at night. And people want that and people need that. And so Feed Your Family Tonight, that name was there for years before I ever dreamed that it would become my business. I always knew I wanted to teach people to feed their families. And so that's been there for a long, long time. And I'm still scratching and clawing towards the goal. We'll see what happens, Anna.
That's amazing. So you have all these layers, you have a business, you clearly are able to feed your family and share with others how to. Could you give the listeners out there just like 2 tips on, because I know for me, I am a full-time working mom and have a business and get home late at night. And it is a huge challenge. And it always has been a challenge for me to get food on the table. Can you give the audience maybe 2 tips on how to make it work when your life is just crazy?
Absolutely. The first thing is take 10 to 15 minutes at the beginning of the week. For me, that's on a Monday. For you, it might be on a weekend, and plan your meals for your week around your time. Don't plan a stir fry when you're running kids to activity and you have to eat in a small little window before you get back up to the PTO meeting at school. Plan meals that work with the time that you have and be realistic. Start thinking about your go-to dishes in time, because weeknight dinner success is not about recipes. It is about time management. And if you can take all of the average person, Anna, makes over 230 decisions about food a day. And if you can take most of those decisions and move them into 10 minutes at the beginning of the week, you will give yourself brain space. And then you can do things like your grocery order, and you know what you have, and it's going to make executing much easier when you walk in the door at whatever time you're walking in.
Yeah, you made that very manageable. 10 minutes is easy to swallow, right?
Yeah.
It's not like sit down for an hour, plan out your meals, put the recipes together. I mean, that's always been a hang up for me, but 10 minutes, I can find 10 minutes, right? And you're absolutely right. That pulls that out of your brain. I'm a huge fan of that. Writing things down in order to pull them out of your brain so that it's one less thing to think about. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And you guys, if you want more of her tips, she's got a podcast. Would you share your podcast with them?
Oh, sure. It's Feed Your Family Tonight. You can find me anywhere you listen to podcasts. So Feed Your Family Tonight podcast.
And how long have you had that podcast going?
Oh gosh, I'm at episode 170. So 2.5 going on 3 years now.
Yeah. So there's plenty to listen to. I know I have so many listeners that are in that that boat, that just don't have the time or can't quite figure it out or get frustrated. I mean, they're all like me. So you're a gift to all of us. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So share with us a little bit about in your journey, the moments where you've found like the magic, where you're like, oh gosh, I just am so happy right now. Because I know that especially in the last 2 years, we've really, the happiness aspect of life is really kind of hard to find. So how do you find those moments where you're like, okay, I'm happy. This makes me happy. And of course, we're all human, and that's the purpose of this podcast, is to show that, we are all human and we're not perfect, but there are moments in time where we find the magic or the happiness, or we live big, those kind of things. So where do you find that?
In all of my meanderings of life, because I've done a lot of different things, I find the most joy when I have forward momentum. When I know what the goal is and I'm actively taking steps to work towards the goal, that is when I'm finding the joy. I find myself getting down and getting frustrated when I don't know what the next step is. I don't know where I'm going, or I'm stuck and I can't do the next step for one reason or another. I can't figure out how to make it happen. That's when I start fighting with myself, and that's when I start kind of feeling down, and that's when I have to fight, the depression and the lethargy. But when I have forward momentum, and it could be forward momentum in helping my son pass algebra, and we're spending 2 hours 3 times a week sitting there helping him do his algebra homework. That's forward momentum toward a goal. It could be forward momentum towards something new in my business. I just released a new product in my business, and that forward momentum really pulled me out of a funk I'd been in. I mean, this pandemic will throw you in a funk, and your kids get COVID, and I'm telling you, that'll throw you in a funk too.
Mm-hmm.
And forward momentum pulls me out of funks, and I just feel like that is when I feel like I'm just doing it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Now, the question is, when you feel like you're in a funk and you feel like you're not making that forward momentum, what's the first step that you do in order to go, okay, how am I going to make that forward momentum? I recognize the fact that I'm in this funk and I don't feel good about it. How am I going to move forward into setting those goals? If people are not necessarily used to setting goals, I know you're a business owner, so you're used to setting goals. I know business owners are typically used to setting goals, but if, let's just say, you're not a business owner and you're stuck and you would love to, show up in life and feel like you're moving forward, what would that first step look like?
For me, I am a high energy, go, go, go kind of girl. And when I get in a funk, the first thing I have to do is quiet my heart and slow down. And I have to listen to myself, and I have to allow myself space to dream. And for me, that requires a lot of spaciousness. It means that I have to have hours in my schedule to do nothing. And I have to clear space on my calendar. When I get in a funk, I have to create spaciousness, because that spaciousness is where I can quiet my heart and start listening to what's really happening underneath all of the layers. And sometimes that's really hard because I'm so go.
I love that. I know the feeling, and you're absolutely right. And it's hard to find that time because you're go, right? But if you put it in your calendar, and just like planning your meals, I guess, right? You go take 10 minutes, you look at your schedule and you go, okay, well, I've got an hour on Thursday. I'm going to plug this in and I'm going to sit and I love it, and dream and set goals. And maybe in that dreaming, you discover not necessarily a big goal, but something small that you just wouldn't have thought of if you didn't give yourself the time. I totally agree with that.
Well, and the big goals only happen with small, little, tiny steps. It is a teeny tiny, and the teeny tiniest little thing can spark momentum.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just taking action in one teeny tiny thing. It's like doing a to-do list, right? You have,
Yeah.
let's just say you have 3 things. I know for me over years, instead of having this really long to-do list, I give myself 3 things to do today. 3 things. That's it. Even though my list is 30 long, I give myself 3 things. And if I can cross off those 3 things, then I feel like I've accomplished things. And then, each day you just keep knocking off those 3 things. But the bite-sized piece allows you to move forward in whatever it is that you want to do. And I just want to inspire people that, because when I talk about this, I think of certain people in my life that would say they don't necessarily have a goal in life. And they're kind of floating. However, they feel like they don't want to continue to float, right? So kind of making this easy for someone like that who doesn't necessarily start goals, who had set goals maybe years and years and years ago and reached those goals. And now they're at this point where we all have kind of met this crossroads in this pandemic, and do we love our job? Is there something more for me? Do I want to travel? Those kind of things. We all kind of question what life really, really means to us. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that are stuck with moving forward. So I love.
I've got a tip for that.
Okay. Yeah.
When you are stuck moving forward, put yourself in a new experience. It could be as simple as going to a different grocery store, or it can be, take a different route to work. It doesn't have to be a big different circumstance, but I'm telling you, when you are stuck and you're feeling in a rut and you don't have any idea, put yourself in new circumstances and it will spark creativity.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love just the simplicity of just sending yourself to a new grocery store.
Yes.
Right? I'm so glad you said that. I have to tell you something funny about grocery stores. I love grocery stores. There's a period of time where I don't frequent them, right? But I know that whenever I walk in, and I don't go there very often, it's right near my house. But when I walk into my Whole Foods, there's this feeling I get, and I think it was because I used to shop there all the time when my kids were little. And there's this feeling, and I was, at my best shape and all those things. There's this feeling I get when I walk in there that every single time I walk in there, I get that feeling of I just love this place. Right. But most of the time I go to a different grocery store and it just kind of you go through the motions, and then I forget about the Whole Foods experience for me until I walk back in there and I go, oh, I just love this place. So something as simple as even going to a different store, you just never know. And you're like, oh, this store is set up a completely different way. And then, yes, you never know, you may be inspired to do your next big thing. I love that. Sorry. I just had to share that funny story.
No, it's so true though. I mean, and Whole Foods will slow you down too. They have slower beats per minute music there than other grocery stores. And a Whole Foods will slow you down. And there's something really good about that.
I did not know that. Well, clearly it works because for all of these years, I walk in there and I just am like, it's like a deep breath, right? I remember going to a Whole Foods I used to travel for my work, and it was the biggest Whole Foods I had ever seen. And I would travel by myself and I would pass the time and I would just wander through there because it was like this big deep breath. And here I'm on this business trip and go. And I just, you know what? I just need a little bit of a break. I'm just going to walk into this big Whole Foods and just relax. It's like, for those of you who do not meditate, just walk into a Whole Foods, right?
It'll slow you down. And I think that's good.
Yeah, no, you're right. And so when you say, finding finding time to sit and dream. I mean, it can even be something like that where you're just you, and maybe you pick up a couple things, but you just wander into Whole Foods and you're just kind of dreaming and not thinking about the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. So it doesn't necessarily, I mean, you can still accomplish something by picking up a few groceries. But I think by putting yourself in spaces like that, it does allow you to multitask, I should say, even if you can't sit in one space for an hour and dream. I know I also do that when I go and get like a 30-minute massage. It's like 30 minutes that I can shut my brain down and just think about the things that I want to think about. Right? Yeah, I love that. I love that. Okay. So I want you to also share with everyone. So you shared your podcast. I want you to share, where can we see video, pictures, anything of you being on set cooking your heart away?
You know, all of the recipes on my website have a video attached with them. Most of them are on set. Some of them I taped from home and during the pandemic when they weren't having people in studios, so they're in my kitchen. But if you go to feedyourfamilytonight.com and then there's a tab for recipes, every recipe has a video of me talking about it. And that's, I love it. I love being on video. I love connecting with my people. I have a Facebook group too. Really, I'm anywhere at Feed Your Family Tonight. I have a really lovely Facebook group full of lovely people, and you'll see things there. Instagram's where you're going to see what's happening behind the scenes. You're going to hear about my daughter running a half a mile down the street yesterday because her car fogged over and she locked herself out of a car, so she left it running. I mean, Instagram's where you'll see like the antics of
Your
being
life.
a mother.
Yeah.
But the professional stuff you'll find Feed Your Family Tonight, Instagram, Facebook, and my website, feedyourfamilytonight.com.
Awesome. Thank you. And those will be in the show notes for sure. So make sure to go find her and just cheer her on. And you're so approachable. So I want people to know that if they have any questions about anything we talked about, please reach out to Marie. And she's just the sweetest person ever. Okay. So if you guys are watching this on YouTube, please make sure and hit subscribe. And if you're listening to this on any of the podcast platforms, please click. And you were my first review on my podcast. So thank you. That was so sweet. So please review the podcast. I am super grateful for that. And we will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you so much for sharing. This was so great.
It's a joy, Anna. Thanks so much for having me on it. I'm so excited to hear more people's journeys.
Thank you.